Welcome back to episode 6. Here we go with the Pixel platform. We have our pixel-based art style player. It's moving around. The animations are transitioning nicely for running and jumping, but currently our camera work is boring. Nothing's happening. So we need to make some action happen. And we know in platformers, basically the camera does follow our player. So we can see here we're running around, but the camera is completely static. If I go off camera, it doesn't follow me and I fall into the abyss. So we need to fix that. Now, an easy way to make our camera follow, of course, is to child the camera to the player, and that would work, but it would be really limited in what we can and cannot do. So I'm going to show you how to use what's called Cinemachine. It's a great package that does not default with Unity. So you're going to need to go to your package manager and make sure you're under the Unity registry here. And if you scroll down, you'll find this Cinemachine. Now, I've already installed this for time purposes, so we don't have to sit here and look at this for 30 seconds. It's already been installed. So let's go ahead and implement this into our game. So all we need to do now is we're going to go to our hierarchy. We're going to right click and we're going to go down to Cinemachine, and we have all these cool options and they all do different things. They are all essentially a virtual camera, but a lot of them with some pre-settings. And the one we want, of course, for our platformer is a 2D camera. So I'm going to bring in this camera now, and you're going to notice two things happen. Of course, we got the virtual camera here, but something changed in this little icon, this little red video or recording icon. And what that added was the Cinemachine brain. And all this means is that our camera is going to use its new camera brain, so to speak, to go from one camera to the next. So this is the live camera. We only have one, but you could imagine later in a different unit, we're going to learn all about how we can move from one camera to the next and how to transition smoothly and interpolate that really cool effect that we get in movies and cool cutscenes. But for now, we're just going to have one camera. So we don't need to do anything with the brain here. We're going to go to this virtual camera. And we can see here, we got some basic settings. We're not going to change anything, but right here we have follow. It's built in to allow me to follow a certain thing. And now, of course, the thing we want to follow is our player. So I'm going to drag that in right here. And now also I've noticed that it has changed the ortho size. So we're in orthographic for 2D. It was most common instead of perspective. And I'm going to set this to about, I think, well, let's go to 6. 6 will work for now, and you might want to tweak this later depending as we build our level. Okay, let's go into this body choice. So that's where we're going to be making a lot of edits. So right now, how this is going to work is it has all its default settings, and as is, this works just fine, but we're going to be changing a few of these. Okay, so we're going to do this in play mode so we can actually see how it's changing as I move our character around. Now, it's not going to save any of our settings. We're going to make sure we take a screenshot so then we can put those in afterwards. So right now, I'm just going to click on the body and it's going to show this overlay here. Let's try that again, body, then I'll click here. And as I move around, we can see it is following my player and it looks pretty good already. And I haven't changed a single setting. Now there's a couple things that I like to change here. And the first one I'm going to change is down here is the screen Y height. Now, generally, most platformers, the player is not dead center. So I'm going to move it a little bit lower. So I'm going to actually have our player sit at about 0.7. Especially this game that we're creating is we're going to be moving up a lot in this game that we're going to be customizing. Less of a left and right or horizontal game level. We're going to be moving up. So let's set that to 0.7. And I like that there. Now, also, a dead zone is a nice thing to have. So if I have just little movements, I don't want the camera to move at all. So we can actually bump these up. I'd like to have a dead zone of about 0.2 and 0.1 on the Y. Okay, and now as I stay in this dead zone, it's not going to move my camera. But of course, if I jump up, it will. And that's why I like a smaller Y value. And once I go to the edge of the dead zone, it's going to move the camera. But we kind of got a bit of an issue when we set up this dead zone. I like it, but I also don't like how I can only see a very small part of the screen in front of me. So that's going to be the look ahead. So the look ahead time here is what we're going to adjust first. And generally this one, we're going to bump it up to about, let's try 0.3 and see if you can notice that. So now you can see I don't quite get to the edge of the dead zone now. I'm looking ahead a little further, which I like that at about 0.3. So let's set that up for 0.3, and we want to smooth it out. So this will, instead of snapping, it'll smooth it just a little bit. We can try setting that to about a 5, if I remember. I like to have that. And now it's slowly, you can see I get to the dead zone and it starts to smooth out. So maybe that's a little bit slow. I think I might bring that down to, let's try 3. Yeah, oh, fell right off. That's okay. All right. So, and those are actually settings that I need. So I would have taken a screenshot of that. So let's get these settings back up. So I had a look ahead. I had that set to about 0.3. So let's update all of these. Our smoothing, again, I think I had that at about a 3. We're going to talk about this look ahead, ignore Y in 1 second, but I'm going to keep it. The damping, I like to have that at 1. That's keeping everything nice and smooth and not so jerky. The Y, we did increase this to 0.7. And our dead zone, we did have this set to 0.2 and 0.1. Again, you choose however you want to move these. The rest, I really don't change at all. The only one we're going to talk about is this look ahead, ignore Y. So what is that talking about? Well, let's take a look here. Right now, the look ahead is working in the X and the Y direction. So if I was platforming up and up and up, you can see I'm looking ahead. I'm looking ahead as to where I'm jumping. And I'm not really seeing what's below me. So that's a little bit risky, especially if we could fall down into some hazards. So if I ignore the look ahead on the Y, you can see now as we play, it's not looking ahead. It's still keeping my player kind of at the bottom, but if we start to fall, we definitely can't see where we're going to hit anything, right? And that might be something you want. You want to have it where you can't see what you're landing on very well. Again, you could change this the screen Y if you really want it. If you want to keep that player more centered, you could, right? And then so you can kind of see where you're falling. You could also leave the look ahead on the Y. So when you start to fall, you can actually see below you a little bit better. So that's all up to you how you want to change those settings. So for me, I think for this platformer, I'm going to keep the look ahead on the Y for some fast upward platforming. And I am happy with my Y distance there. I might just tweak it a little bit. It's a little bit too much for in case of a fall and there's hazards. So I'm just going to move that to 0.6. And I'm happy with that. So just like that, no code required. We got Cinemachine working. Our game looks way better now as it moves around and follows our player. And we're ready to start looking at some level design, and tile mapping is going to be coming up. All right, that's it for now.